back, everybody, to Lenny and Elliott podcast, When Giants Were Giants, a deep dive into the 1986 Super Bowl champion New York football Giants. Joined as always, co-host Leonard Marshall, a two-time Super Bowl champion, and I'm Elliott, Mr. Stats Kalb. Leonard, good to see you again, my friend.
Also, it is great to see you, my friend.
Today, we've been joined by a lot of your former teammates, but most of them on your side of the ball, the defensive side. But today we have a real treat. We have one of the offensive linemen. We have Billy Ard. And Billy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, guys. I'm extremely happy to be here. Anytime I get a chance to share anything with Leonard, it's a good day.
Well, I thank you for that, Billy. You're too kind. And Elliott, Billy and I actually have a history, man. That's wow. I mean, it went on with our career for the entire career, man. That I can remember. And the beauty of it is I really idolized Billy Ard when he was in school at Wake Forest.
Oh, you're going back, yes.
I mean, Billy and I played each other in the Tangerine Bowl my freshman year at LSU. I was a backup linebacker to a linebacker by the name of Tommy Frizzell, and I had to study Billy Ard and the offensive line at Wake Forest with big old Rich Baldinger.
Yes, I got Baldinger.
He also became a teammate with the Giants, and so we got a little bit of history between Biff and I.
That's right.
Back a long way. Hey, Bill, I wanted to ask you something else about Wake Forest. You were in the 1981 draft by the Giants in the 8th round, and the first round pick was Lawrence Taylor. Now, I'm sure you faced Lawrence in college at Wake Forest, North Carolina. How did you fare against LT?
Well, Lawrence was a first, and I was an 8th. Well, first
that's a good analogy, Billy.
That's all right. What's the next question? All right.
Did you played against them in college, though? Did you not?
I did. Let me see. We both came in the same year. My freshman year, we played Carolina's freshman team. But I was a linebacker at that time, so I would not have gone against Lawrence. Sophomore year, I moved to line. My sophomore, junior, and senior season, we played against Carolina all those 3 years. My junior year, we had a good team. That's the year that we went to the Tangerine Bowl, and we beat Carolina at Carolina. And Carolina that year, I believe, had just 2 losses. Their loss was to us, and then they lost to Oklahoma down in Oklahoma, and they beat Michigan in the Gator Bowl. And then my senior year, I think we were Carolina was 5-0 or something like that, and we were 4-1. And they came to town, and John Makovic was my college coach. And, we threw the ball a lot. And, so our passing scheme was very similar to the pro, passing scheme. So whenever a guard was uncovered, I played left guard. So a right guard would have to scan out and try to block Lawrence Taylor. So Lawrence Taylor is just killing us. I mean, just absolutely killing us. And we come in at halftime, and Makovic's screaming top of his lungs, saying that, "Don't we have anyone that can block that guy?" And but we found out shortly thereafter that no one can block that guy. So you can't ask a 6 feet, 250 pounds sophomore or freshman. I think he was a freshman, to try and block Lawrence Taylor when the best guys weren't going to block Lawrence Taylor the next year.
And then you wound up having to practice against him every day for years, right?
Yeah, 8 years. Yeah, 8 years, Lawrence. Lawrence and I went against Lawrence. But Lawrence, let me tell you something. Lawrence was an amazing teammate. I thought he was just a great teammate because, and Leonard can attest to this, Parcells would go off every once in a while, and not every once in a while, pretty much all the time, and, screaming and yell. And so I remember one time, I think we were doing a 2-minute or something like that on a Friday afternoon, and Parcells is like, "Okay, let's go, bring it defense." And I'm scanning out to get to Lawrence. And Lawrence puts a little move on me, and he has me beat. And because I bet, like Leonard, I was sliding out to the left, and my inside foot dropped. And you know when the guy's inside foot drop, it's a cakewalk to the quarterback. And Lawrence said to me, "Gotcha," but he allowed me to reshuffle my body to get in front of him, so I can look like I'm blocking him, because he knows that if he gets to the quarterback, Parcells is going to go absolutely bonkers, and which is the truth, right, Leonard? And Lawrence is not going to get paid any more money by beating me on Friday afternoon. So he was a great teammate.
Wow. So I know everybody talks about your father, make your guard at the draft in the 81 draft. And then you just told us that when you went to college, you started as a linebacker. Where did you play in high school? What position were you?
I was a linebacker and I was an offensive tackle. And but every school pretty much recruited me for defense. And then after my freshman year, I got bigger, and then, with McAvick coming in, and my line coach was a guy named Jim McNally, and AKA Mouse. He's you should get him on your podcast. He'll fill up a lot of good times with stories. That guy is a very interesting person. He was my line coach for 2 years, and he's the one that brought me over to the offensive side of the ball because we needed someone to protect, and he's the one that got me thinking about playing at the next level. Without that, I would never even thought twice about it. But Jim McNally, he was the reason. He's the catalyst for my growth, I guess, or my vision, or something.
Growing up in New Jersey, your father was actually a Giants season ticket holder from the early '60s, right? That had to be such a thrill.
Yeah, he had season tickets for 17 seasons before I got there. And I think it was 17 losing seasons just about. So, I was very upset about the draft, being drafted later, because, I played in the Senior Bowl and the Hula Bowl, and all the guys I played against in the Senior Bowl, like Keith Gary. And, I used to tell this, I practiced against EJ Jr. every day in practice for a week, and I pounded him. I pounded him every day, and I pounded him for 8 years when I played against him, when he played for the Cardinals. But I was disappointed that I was drafted late, but my mother wisely said, Bill, you're better off being an 8th round draft pick with the Giants than a 3rd or 4th in Detroit, because no one really cares. And so she was 100% right.
But were you a Giants fan growing up?
Oh, yeah, I love the Giants.
Who would you root for? I know they were mostly losing teams, but were you a fan of the Norm Snead or whoever it was? I'm trying to remember the.
It was like Fran Tarkenton. He was late '60s. I think my first game I ever went to might have been either 1965 or '66. I remember going to the Giants-Eagles game where the Giants beat the Eagles like 66-3 or something. That was an amazing game. And then I remember going to I don't know what year it was, might have been 69 or 70, going to a game. My dad's tickets were at Yankee Stadium in the bleachers, and sitting in the bleachers, and Giants were playing the Rams, and Rams had like Roman Gabriel. They were really good, the Rams. And so Giants win the game. They're in the playoffs. And get the ball, opening drive, go down the field. Pete Gogolak kicks the field goal, up 3-0. Then we lost 33-3.
Leonard, do you believe a guy grows up a Giants fan and then gets to play?
No, I mean that was like me being from Louisiana and growing up a Steeler fan and ended up playing for the Saints. And Billy, listen, Billy was a great teammate. He had a blessed career. He was an extremely athletic guy, and one I respected. He and I practiced against each other every week. Billy helped me an awful lot early on in my developing a technique and a variety of techniques, may I add, as a pass rusher. I practiced a lot of stuff on Billy, And I can even recall, and he'll tell you this. I ended up perfecting this spin move off of the way that he and I would practice against each other and in one-on-one pass rushing drills. I said if I could beat Billy doing this, I could beat damn near anybody. And then I helped him get ready to play guys like Randy White, that stupid head slap. Remember that, Billy? Randy White would come in and he'd put this bubble wrap on his hands. And I asked Billy, I said, Billy, why do you think Randy White wraps his hands with all that bubble wrap? He said, Leonard, when he hits you with that bubble wrap, you almost think he's got a steel bar in his hand. Because that's what it felt like, right?
Oh, yes, that is so true. That's true. I mean, he had those things, and he would come up, and he would just punch you in the head, punch you in the jaw, punch you. And then, I mean, I played against that guy, I think like 15 times, something along those lines. And I remember I was in the summertime, I was hanging out with Brian Baldinger, Richard Baldinger's brother. Brian's on the NFL Network. So Baldy, is a Cowboy, and he's like the backup guard center tackle for the Cowboys. And we're at a concert. We're at a Grateful Dead concert at the Meadowlands. And, I'm there with Richard Baldinger and a couple of dudes and Brian Baldinger. And I'm talking to Brian, and I'm bringing up Randy. I said, you know what? I think Randy's starting to respect me a little bit because he's not punching me quite as much. So, all right, so we go play them at home. I'm like, can you swear on this? Can you swear on this show here? And I, basically like WTF? Like, what's going on here? And after the game's over, I say to Brian Baldinger, I said, God, this guy's an asshole. He just kept on. I don't know what happened to him. He starts laughing, and he goes, Bill, I told him that you said he's washed up.
Bill, there's so many things, so many areas I want to go. But first, what really interested me is the Grateful Dead. How many Dead shows? Is there a number that you can give me that you've been to?
All right. In between Grateful Dead, now this could be a whole subset here. I'm going to kind of blow you away a little bit here, but I would say I went to, between Garcia Band and Grateful Dead, over 150 shows.
Wow.
Great.
Wow.
You've earned my everlasting respect if you didn't have it already.
All right. I'm going to tell you something real quick here. So 1981, Giants make the playoffs. We beat Philadelphia down in Philadelphia, and then we go to San Francisco. So I'm out there in San Francisco. The team's out there. Jim Clack, who was he was a Wake Forest guy. He was brought in because our center got hurt, and he was like a 12-year vet. He played for the Steelers, got a couple rings with the Steelers and all. He's just like my idol. So, long story, Grateful Dead plays New Year's Eve shows out there in San Francisco, and that's always their big, big concert for the year. So I was hoping, because we were out there New Year's, to get to go to the concert, but we had curfew and everything. And I think New Year's was like on a Thursday, game was on a Sunday, so it wasn't a big deal. So I'm sure a few guys went over the wall that time anyway, right, Leonard?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but me, being squeaky clean, I'm gonna stay in my room. So game day happens. I'm walking into pregame meal. Jim Clack says to me, he called me Deadhead. He goes, "Yo, Deadhead, the Grateful Dead staying in the hotel." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Go over there. There's a manager." And I remember her vividly, Susie Hughes, California, blonde, everything about her is great. You know what I'm saying? 31, 32 years old. I go over, introduce myself. She says, "Follow me." So meanwhile, I follow her. We go to the door, knocks on the door, bam, bam, bam. Phil Lesh, the bass player, opens up. There must have been 100 dead Heineken soldiers all the way around the room. All right? And she introduces me to him. I said, "Hey, Phil, nice to meet you. I want you to know I'm a big fan." I said, "I was listening to what show was it? It was one of the concerts, Englishtown, 1977. Englishtown, 77 tape. And he's like, wow, your stuff, whatever. He goes, so I had 2 tickets that a friend of mine asked me to put in will call for one of his buddies for the game. I'm like, okay. So when I met Lesh, I had to give him something. So I pulled out those 2 tickets and I said, hey, man, I want to give you something. I want you to have these tickets. I hope you can come to the game.
Way to go. Right.
I'm a big Niner fan. So game's over. We lose. It was a good game. It was a very close game. And we actually had it. We could have won, Leonard. 2 things happened that day. Ernie Gray drops a touchdown slam from the 7-yard line, and then Joe Danello misses, which we would have went up like 3 or 4, and then Joe Danello misses an extra point, which is a field goal. And next series they go 1, 2, 3 and out, but Jeter takes Farnhurst and punches him in the head, and first down, and then game's over. Instead of being up 3 or down 1 with the ball, like 6, 7 minutes left. But anyway. So the game's over. I'm flying back. I got Brad Van Pelt in the back of the plane with Jim Clack, and I said, this is the greatest day of my life. And Van Pelt says to me, what do you mean? You're supposed to be upset we lost. I said, no, you don't understand. I said, I'm a rookie. I made it through my rookie season, played in a couple playoff games. I met Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead. I said, this is it, man. And so, Leonard, we fly in about 4 a.m, and I have a buddy of mine that lives in Summit, and I go to his house, I knock on his window. He has it was like a split level, so he's like in the basement. I'm knocking on the window, and I said to him, David, you're not going to believe it. I tell him the whole story, and he's the one who had the friend for will call, and he goes, so you didn't put the tickets in will call? And believe me, Leonard, out of a million things, that was 1,000,001 I was concerned about. So from that point on, Phil Lesh said to me, from now on, Bill, any Grateful Dead show you're in for free. So now we're in March. The Dead, this is 82. The Dead are playing like 5 nights at the Garden. I'm out in the soundboard area with my buddy Meluso. Bill Walton's hanging out there and everything. And my buddy Dave starts talking to this one chick. She happened to be married to Phil Lesh. So they bring me backstage. Phil, gives me like a hug or something, and then every band member has a roadie. So the one key roadie, the big, there's 2 serious roadies for the Dead who've been there from the beginning. One guy's name is Ramrod, and Ramrod basically said to me, "Do you have tickets for tomorrow?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Well, here's a ticket, and here's a backstage pass." So getting tickets, backstage passes for the next couple of years. Then they realized that I was into the music. I knew the music. I understood the music. And everyone kind of liked me. I was talking to Garcia. I was talking to Weir. I was talking to everyone pretty much in the band all the time. And they got, from that point on, for the next 10 years, I had a backstage all-access laminated pass where I would get 2 of them a year. And you can walk in anywhere, Garden, no one's going to say a word. You're just going to walk right in, up the catwalk, backstage, get a couple beers, bingo. It was a great time. So that's my Grateful Dead life.
Wow.
Great story. Let me bring you back to football. After 81, the team next gets really good around 85. That they're on the verge in 85. I don't know what you played at around, but probably around 6'3", 260. And then you're playing the Bears in the playoffs, one of the great defenses of all time. You're probably going against the right defensive tackle guy by the name of William Perry. Can you tell me about the refrigerator?
Yeah, I was probably, I was pretty much between 272 and 275, at that point. The fridge was 305. And let me tell you something. The fridge was, he was a solid player and everything. But, that defense was insane. And part of the reason why it was so insane is because they had a scheme at the time that we had no idea how to block it. We're running sweeps with 8 guys in the box. You should be, I think the Dolphins figured it out. You got to get the ball snapped quick and get rid of it in 2 seconds. And that's how you pick them apart. And so no one really knew how to block the Bear defense. So that was a problem. But the fridge wasn't a problem. I'll tell you it was a problem. Richard Dent was a problem.
I can understand that one.
Richard Dent was a problem, man. That guy had arms, and he, I can handle guys that are, square, but real long dudes with serious long reach that have much longer arms than me, man, that's the problem. And
Who else would you go against? Dexter Manley, right?
Dexter was never a problem. Dexter was no, not at all, because they ran a 4-man front. I was pretty much covered, so I had Darryl Grant or somebody like that who was just good player, solid player, but you weren't fearful of those guys. Dexter had some game and everything, but we would slide, and whenever Dexter came inside, we just smack him
Smack him right in the mouth.
We would smack him. I got to tell you a quick story. This is funny. So Benson's my left tackle, and Leonard can tell stories on Benson all day long.
All day long.
Oh, and Brad thought he was just smarter than everybody else, and he was probably smarter than most. But so we're playing, and his big thing was he would be like 2.5 feet away from me, and then right before he would go in his stance, he would wide out like another 2 feet, so there'd be like a 4 or 5 foot, gap between the guard and tackle, which is a big gap. And so we're playing against the Patriots, and I forget the guy's name. Who's a defensive end, Leonard Stanford guy. Stanford.
Garen Varus.
Garen Varus. There it is. So the first play, here we are in sub defense, 3rd and 10 maybe, and Benson, widens him out, puts his hand down. The guy just gets up, nonchalantly walks right between the gap. I'm covered. I'm laughing. And he comes there and sacks the quarterback, and Benson's going, shit. It was great. And then I remember Ray Hanley saying to him afterwards, during film, Brad, the guy went to Stanford. What do you think he's going to do? Keep on going out further?
Hey, Leonard, you talk about Billy being a great teammate and most of these other guys. Let me ask you both about Brad. Did he ever get you a deal on a car after he got his dealership?
Deal on the car? Brad Benson, the deal on the car? Not me.
I bought 3 cars from Brad, I was very trusting. I'm like, Brad, for my kids, that car is a good entry point for kids. So I bought 2 or 3 cars, and I think 2 of them got totaled.
Okay, Bill. Now I want to talk to you about Phil Simms. Now, he was in '86 in the postseason. In those 3 postseason games, this guy was sacked just 3 times. So you and Brad and the rest of the line did obviously a superb job. But in his career, he did take a lot of sacks. I looked up. I think he was sacked 477 times, and 75 of them were in the 2 years before you got there, and 81 of them were after you left. So that leaves about 320 sacks of Phil when you were there. How many do you think you were responsible for?
Carl Nelson was, and Chris Godfrey gave up a lot of sacks,
And he held the ball a long time, too.
That's a good question. I didn't give up a lot of sacks. I really didn't, because they would have replaced me if I did. So, but
I'm just having fun with that, But I do want to talk to you about Phil.
I'll say no more than 40%.
When you got there in your rookie year, Phil started 10 times, and I think Scott Bruner started the others. And then in '82, Phil missed the year with a knee, and in '83, only made 2 starts. So you really saw him before he became on the verge of being do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame, first of all?
All right. So I started the last 10 games of my rookie season, I think 8 games plus 2 playoffs, so that's 10. He got injured, I think, around week eight or something like that. I think he got hurt, and then Bruner was the quarterback when I was there. So Scott was my quarterback for my first 2 years. And then in '83, Bill decided that Scott should be the quarterback. I don't know why he did that, but Bruner was. Sims was definitely clearly a better quarterback. I don't get involved with. I think Phil Sims was a winner. He won one Super Bowl, and maybe he would have won a second Super Bowl too. I don't know. I think it's hard because quarterbacks nowadays have stats and stats and stats and stats and stats. It's because they're accumulate all these yards. The rules have changed. It was much tougher to throw the ball, in the 80s and 70s as it is today, where now you can't even touch the guy. You can't touch the quarterback, and you can't touch the receiver after like 36 inches. So I think Phil had a great career. I was very happy to have him as my quarterback. I wish he had a little Russell Wilson in his legs, but he probably wish he had a little more of Anthony Munoz on his line too.
Talk about the 1986, that Super Bowl season. I mean, after that 85 loss to the Bears, you guys had to know that you were on the verge of something really big in '86. And was there a game that you knew that was it, we're going to win? What are your lasting memories of that '86 season?
I think, we lost our first game of the season. We kind of struggled offensively for probably 6, 7, 8 weeks. We couldn't quite get it, but we were winning. We're winning on defense. But then we started to get it going, and then our offense was, I don't think our offense was equally as good as our defense near the end of the season. We were crushing people, and hence that's why we won the Super Bowl. We had a great offense and a great defense. But I would say, to me, was going down to Washington, and we were confident. I think we beat them. I'm not sure what the score was. Well, we beat them down there. And so we clinched the division. And I can remember the next week playing the Cardinals at home. And my old line coach, a guy named Tom Bresnahan, he was coaching the Cardinals. And I was outside. I was on the field, 3 hours before the game, and he's there, and he's telling me that we're ripe for the picking because we clinched the division. And I said, Tom, we're going to kick your ass today. And we beat him, I think, 28-0. But, the offense came together. Defense was always there. And hence, we won a Super Bowl.
So that had to be the highlight of your career, the whole season, or was there the championship game, the Super Bowl? What do you remember most?
You know what? The Super Bowl was a little anticlimactic, and the reason why I say that is, when we beat the Niners 49-3, then we come back and we're playing the Redskins at home, and we knew we were going to win, and the score was 17-0, I think, and I think it was 17-0 in the first quarter. Bill just didn't want us to throw the ball, and defense was playing great, and Landetta was probably the MVP of that game, and so when you win the game, you're all excited because you're going to play in the Super Bowl. After the Super Bowl's over, you want to play somebody else. You want to keep on playing. It's amazing. So winning the Super Bowl obviously was, that's it. It's the pinnacle. But you want to play the next week. At least I did.
That's kind of why the next year was so disappointing in '87 because of the strike. Because Leonard, that had to be the prime of your career. It had to be the prime of Bill's career. And because they did fill out a strike replacement team, that had to be so disappointing that following season, huh?
Oh, it was extremely disappointing. Billy will tell you, we were traveling up to Washington Township to practice as a result of the strike. I mean, we wanted to be the team to challenge, one of the first teams to challenge um, the validity of our stamp of approval as champs of the National Football League. I mean, we wanted to come back in '87 and prove to the world that we deserve to be called the world champions in 1986, '87. And we watched the Bears, get exposed. We watched other teams before that get exposed. I think the one that comes to mind, the biggest, and Billy will attest to this, was the Redskins. I mean, everybody thought the Redskins was this superpower in the 1980s. Hell, they only won Super Bowls during strike season.
That's right.
They weren't any kind of superpower. Billy will tell you they won in '83 because of the strike in '82. They won in '87 because of the strike, and they won in '88 because of the strike in '87. And I didn't think a whole lot of them.
That's true. I even at the bottom for the Giants and the top for the Redskins, we never feared them. Never feared them at all. Never remotely thought twice of them. Like the big rivalry. I mean, I love playing against the Redskins. I always played well against the Redskins because it was a good matchup for me. And Leonard's right. And I think '87, George Young did a poor job of preparing for the strike. All right. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I think Bill was pissed off because, I think Redskins had some players and maybe Dallas had some players, for their scab teams. And then when we came back, the Giants were like 1-5 or something like that, or whatever the number was, 0-4, 0-5, 1-5, whatever the number was. And Bill pouted. Remember that, Leonard? He didn't even talk to us.
Oh no, he wouldn't talk to us at all. I mean, he used to walk around with this thing, talking about guys with the Brook Trout look on their face, and you're going to be a one-game wonder, or one-week wonder, or flash in the pan, or he'd come up with all that kind of stuff to try to motivate you. And it didn't take much for our guys, because our guys are real competitive, and
yep.
That was the beauty behind what we had built as a football team, and the camaraderie and respect we have for each other on both sides of the football. We went into a ball game. We knew, what it was going to take to grind it out. We knew the big guys on the front on the offense, and the big guys on the front of the defense had to do their thing in order for us to be successful. That was it.
That's it.
Hey, Bill, as long as a local kid makes good with the team, and you're there for years, and you win a Super Bowl, but then it's also a business, and you get an offer from another team, and you take it with the Green Bay Packers to finish your career the last couple of years. Did you ever come back and play against the Giants?
No, we so 1989 rolls in. I'm in my 9th year. I'm the 9-year or 8-year starter with the Giants on offense. And I remember Bill telling me a long time ago that he's never going to let his offensive lineman get old. And Nelson was gone. He got sick. He never really came back. They got rid of Chris Godfrey. They got rid of Benson the year later. Now it's me and Oates. And they brought Brian Williams in to replace him. And I knew the writing on the wall. Yeah. And do I think I would have made the team in '89? Yeah, I would have made the team in '89. My goal was always to play 10. I always wanted to play 10. I wound up playing 11 and turned down playing 12. And I'm glad I did that. But I knew I had to leave. And I knew the time was right. The Niners offered me a contract, and Green Bay offered me a little bit more. The Niners won the Super Bowl the year before. I didn't think they were going to come back and win the Super Bowl again, and they did. They did, win that Super Bowl. But so I decided I'm going to go to Green Bay. I looked at Kansas City also, but I was looking for longevity. and at that point in my career, and I thought Green Bay was the best spot. I got 3 years out of it, and I could have got a fourth. Mike Holmgren wanted me back, and actually Bill Parcells was offered the Green Bay Packer job, and he would call Leonard, you got to take out of this. Starting in like November, Bill started calling me up. I'm in Green Bay, and he's asking me. He said, "You got to go up to Bob Harlan and tell him that I want the job." And I'm like, Bill, I can't do that. I said, our team's no good, and they're no good with me, or they're no good without me. And I said, Lindy Infante's a nice man. He kept me on the team. He could cut me. He doesn't need me, but he likes me. So he's like, okay, all right. And then he tells me everything that happened. They're going to hire Ron Wolf. They hire Ron Wolf. They're going to trade for this guy from Atlanta named Brent Favre. He's coming up. All these things are happening. And then season's over, and Ron Wolf comes up to me. He goes, Bill, I really hope you come back next year because I tore my rotator cuff.
Right.
And so I was out. I got my thumb caught in Kevin Green's jersey the week before, tear my ligaments in my thumb. They cast me up. We're playing the Jets at the Meadowlands. I'm blocking Lagerman, I guess his name is. I fall off the block on my cast, tear my rotator cuff. I'm like, that's it, I'm done. I got 2 operations in 10 days. 2 operations, and that's it. And then so Wolf says to me, I hope you come back. And I said to him, well, it depends if our guy takes the job, meaning Bill. And he looked at me. I thought he knew that I know that he knows, but he didn't know that I knew. So I'm talking to Bill, and Bill's like, we're going through all the players. I said, Bill, this is what you got to do. You're close. And I said, the stadium's located in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's on the corner of Lombardi Avenue and Oneida. That's the Indians. Oneida Indians and Lombardi. Those are the 2 roads. When you get done, Bill, it's going to be Lombardi and Parcells. Now it's Lombardi and Homegrown. But that would have been Parcells. And he was offered the job, and then he turns it down, and then he calls him back the next day, Ron Wolf, and he says to Ron, I want the job. He goes, Bill, I can't give it to you. I offered it to Mike Holmgren, and don't bring it up that you're offered the job, because I'm not going to admit it. But I say this, and Leonard, tell me what your thoughts are. What is Brent Favre? What is he? He's a gunslinger, I think.
Gunslinging quarterback.
All right. What does he do? He throws touchdowns and he throws interceptions.
Correct.
With Bill, will Bill allow you to throw an interception?
No.
So I don't think Brent Favre would have been successful up there.
Neither would I. Not with Parcells. I don't think he would have been.
Yeah, that's my opinion. So good for Brent Favre.
Yeah, I don't think Parcells had a problem with Sims when he threw an interception. Parcells didn't like the ball turned over by running backs. Parcells was a defensive-minded football coach who took everything to heart and took everything personal.
It's true.
He hated turnovers.
Anything that happened to him, I can honestly tell you, I held out of camp twice and would have did it a third time. And every time I did it, he took it personal. Every time.
But if he yes.
It's different. It's different.
Oh, it's different. Oh, yeah, it's totally different. Totally different. But, Leonard, it's interesting. When I was talking to Bill during that time, the last couple, right before he turned down the job, and Lindy Infante was, getting fired and all, he goes, Biff, I want you back next year. And I said, Bill, I don't think I can do your training camp. I'm telling you, I don't think I can do your training camp. He's like, don't worry. And I think what he would have done for me is he would have sat me out, not even been at this, on the team. And then I think he calls me up like 5 days before the opening game and just come up and be your backup, be the spy in the locker room, so to speak.
Right. Something. He just be something for me. Just be something. Right. That's what he used to do. That's what he do, guy. He'd hide you.
He would hide me knowing that I can't do pace party every day. There's no way.
No way.
So, but he would have found a slot for me there. And then Mike Holmgren, when he asked me to come back twice, actually, he asked me when he got the job, and I said, Coach, I'm fried. He goes, don't worry, I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you in July. He calls me in July. You ready to go? You ready to go? And I said, Coach, I can't climb that mountain. And because it's a mountain, right, Leonard?
Yeah, it's a mountain.
Well, you guys were able to play 12 years or more in the NFL. Bring so much more than just the physical skills that any coach worth his salt would, of course, want the two of you, even in a diminished and veteran role, to help out. And Leonard, we did it again. Bill, what a long, strange trip it's been.
Yeah,
and thank you for sharing some of those stories with us. And can't thank you enough.
This was terrific.
Yeah, it was great, my friend. Thank you all. I really do appreciate it, Leonard, Elliott.
I love you, man. So,
man, God bless.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on with us, and for Elliott and I have an opportunity to not only share this with between us, but also Dylan. I think Dylan learned a lot about Billy Ard today.
Absolutely,
more than he needs to know.
When Giants were Giants. We'll see you down the road. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.